You are not just the investor, you are the asset. Your skills, health, network, and reputation make up your personal capital. Unlike stocks, you control this asset entirely. You choose what to learn, how to grow, and where to invest your time and energy. The upside is asymmetric. A $100 course could lead to a $10,000 raise. Your skills either appreciate or depreciate. If you're not actively learning, you're falling behind. Relying on a single ability or job is a concentrated risk. Diversifying your skills, technical, interpersonal, strategic, builds resilience. It's your personal version of risk management. Unlike financial markets, your value doesn't tank with a headline. Strong personal capital is inflation-proof. Your income potential can grow with rising costs. Set a self-investment budget. Track your skill performance annually. Plan not just to maintain, but to upgrade. This isn't personal development as a hobby. It's personal development as a financial strategy. You're the only asset guaranteed to pay lifelong dividends.
Whitney, in your book, Disrupt Yourself, you emphasize embracing change as a key part of growth. How can professionals recognize when it's time to disrupt themselves and invest in developing new skills?
Oh, well, one of the best ways to know it's time to disrupt yourself is you can actually feel it. One of the things that I have built over the years is a framework called the S curve of growth or of learning. And there's 3 parts to it. There is the launch point where growth feels very slow, even though it's actually very fast, but you feel overwhelmed, discouraged, thrilled, etc. But then there's a sweet spot, that steep, sleek back of the curve where it feels like everything is working and you're growing and you feel this great sense of exhilaration. But then you get to the top part of that curve, where is a very interesting place of you figured out what you meant to do. Like you wanted to learn 5 songs on the ukulele, or you wanted to save $5 million. And you're sort of like, well, do I just stay here or do I do something new? And so what I found is that people will have metrics for themselves that might be quantitative, but you typically know because there's something inside of you that says, I need to keep learning. I need to keep growing. If I stay here, I'll stop. I'll stop growing. I'll start dying. And so you can feel, in fact, that there's more for you to do on the planet. And so you make the decision that you're going to disrupt yourself, meaning you're going to jump to the bottom of a brand new S curve. You're going to engage in a process of deliberate self-innovation, which means you're going to go back to the bottom of an S curve where you're going to feel excited, thrilled, and also terrified again. But it's what allows you to continue on this process of growth, because growth is, in fact, our default setting.
I love that visual of jumping from one S curve to the next. Kelly, what do you think is the biggest risk people face when they don't invest in their network or themselves?
Oh, well, I'm going to use Whitney's example because of a conversation I had yesterday with a friend talking about a mutual connection. And this was someone, Whitney, who had realized that they were on the top of the S curve in their career. Okay. They realized that they couldn't get any further. So rather than embarking on their own personal journey, they stayed put for 2 years. And I'm sort of picturing this S curve like a roller coaster. It's like that thing's going down whether you like it or not. So you can either jump on it yourself. So I think the greatest risk, Andy, is people wait. And, Whitney and I'm sure Claire and Jason have some ideas. Why do people hesitate? Why that fear when change is constant, why we fear. And so kind of keeping your head low, doing, what you've been doing, even though it's at an end. I mean, people just do that. And then, you're forced into a much harder S curve of growth, because now what do I do? What are my transferable skills? What's the network I need to do this? When you're forced into it, that's when it's really hard. So I think some of the people listening to this might be having that situation where they're in a job they're not happy with, or they know there's a cliff coming. Like, how do you prepare yourself for that? How can your investment being proactive and projecting into the future in terms of what are the resources and things that you need to make a change so that, I'm not getting shoved down that S curve. You're making the choice yourself.
Claire, you work with a lot of women. You help a lot of women. Do you advise taking an inventory to really identify what is your most valuable asset? and then what areas you need to improve? Oh,
Hey,
you're muted.
Kelly. Oh, shoot.
No, you're back now. You're back.
Okay. Before I start, can I just give a shout out to Jay Kelly? Because I don't know if she remembers me, but many years ago and many failed startups ago on my end, I pitched, I think at South by Southwest. Jay Kelly saw me and she invited me to an office hour she was hosting at General Assembly. This was probably 10 plus years ago, 15 years ago. And so this is actually a great example of how do you do inventory of yourself and consistently self-invest sort of before you need it. I love this model that Jay Kelly did of, I want to help all of these folks, but I don't have a lot of time and energy. So how about once a month or whatever it was, she would host these sort of open forum, you stand in a line and meet her. And I met her again, 10, 15, many failed startups ago. So I'm having a personal moment of, I'm just so pleased that I get to be on this panel with you now.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And I'm just thinking, was I like royalty in the past life that I made people line up? Like, what the hell was that?
No, but it was a great model. It really showed us, it was so great because again, it showed us you can help others, but it should not be at the expense of your own energy. It was the most optimized way you could help a whole group of people, right? Instead of doing one-on-one coffee meetups, you said, everybody show up, but I want to give you individualized attention. So I think a lot of us can model, not just, giving advice, but literally show up as what we recommend others do. And something I have learned in my life that I teach, my client that I coach and the Ladies Get Paid Network is you must check in with yourself every day. And a great question to ask yourself is, where did my energy go? Energy in and energy out. And really start to find the variables that contribute to energy in and out. There are patterns there. And the only way you're going to catch it is if you're being proactively, if you're looking for it, as opposed to waiting until you're either burnt out, let go, right? When you're at the sort of rock bottom, you now have to crawl out and figure it out versus in the moment going, my energy in today was from here. Let me try to dissect that a bit further. How can I kind of double down on the energy in? And then how can I kind of self-protect on the energy out? That is a great place to get started.
Love that. Love being strategic with one's energy, because I'm sure that people can relate. In retrospect, when you look back, you say, oh my gosh, I wasted a lot of energy doing stupid things.
Not if you learn. Nothing stupid if you learned.
True. A tough lesson. Jason, in your book, You Only Live Once, you discuss living with purpose. How does self-investment align with living a purposeful life that balances both financial and personal growth?
Yeah, so one of the key things I like to focus on, we're talking about networks, we're talking about connections, so I want to dive in a little deeper in that. And so when I'm thinking about investing in, and I do apologize for
let the dogs out, Jason.
for the dogs. So they hear me talking, and all of a sudden they want to chime in. But the importance of network. So when we think beyond stocks and bonds, like how do we invest in our network, and how do we invest in building? Because those are investments that pay back. And to Claire's point, waiting in line, that's an investment of time in order to build out the network. And we see it when it comes to finding or seeking new employment opportunities, finding new professional circles, or even kind of like the next stage. Like I have worked in this profession, and now I am in that new S curve. So the professional connection, the network, allows me the opportunity to explore different avenues, different paths. And I think it's really important when we're thinking about building our assets. There's that saying that our network is our net worth, and it's important to kind of stress that. And there is investment in time, investment in mental focus, emotional investment as well into these networks, into these people, because it is extremely valuable.
Someone want to say something?
Yeah, I do. Going back to something that Kelly said about the fear piece. One of the things I remember several years ago, and I actually wrote about this in Disrupt Yourself, is there was a fellow who had like 10 years worth of savings in the bank. Like he had a lot of savings and he would not change jobs. And so the question was, why aren't you changing jobs? And oftentimes it goes to this sense of identity, like the S curve that you're on, what you're currently doing, your identity is deeply tied to that. So oftentimes when we're not willing to do something new, it's because we're afraid. But the thing that I would have everybody consider, for anybody on this call who's ever lost a job, which includes myself, what I have discovered that is when you lose that job, even if you're being laid off, it's because you knew deep in your heart and your soul that this was no longer the place for you. It was no longer the S curve. It was time to disrupt yourself. You wouldn't do it. And so the universe just gave you this nudge to get you to go do that new thing. And so when you're willing to disrupt yourself before you get disrupted, back to everything everyone else has said so far, you're in a much better position, a much better headspace to navigate it, because you feel the sense of autonomy as opposed to the sense of like, ooh, this thing just happened to me, and now you've got to recover from it emotionally and psychologically. But if you disrupt yourself, then you position yourself like, I'm in charge, I can figure this out.
So take charge.
Let's move on.
Let's move on to segment 2.